Hello everybody, welcome to the Little Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel and drop a like on this video. Trying to hit 40k subs over here, so that subscription would be much appreciated. We have some pretty brutal news, as apparently Fred VanVleet has torn his ACL and will be missing the entirety of the 2025-2026 season. And this is a big deal because it's not like the Rockets couldn't afford to lose a player of Fred VanVleet's caliber. Like if they lost a Dorian Finney-Smith, or I don't know, Steven Adams or Amen Thompson, something like that. Like there's a way that that could maybe have been worked around, but what makes this particularly brutal for the Rockets is that they're losing a ball handler and they really don't have a massive supply in that realm. I do believe that it is possible that Amen Thompson could end up just slotting in at the point guard position and just play that position full time. And I've actually even pondered the idea of what it would look like with him at that position. But one way or the other, the Rockets very much need somebody who can dribble the ball and make good decisions with it. And while I am definitely not a particularly big fan of Fred VanVleet, I do think that in Houston, he has just been in a position where he has to shoot the ball more than you would like him to, which has made me kind of sour on him as a player. But I was actually really looking forward to seeing Fred this upcoming season in a context that better suits his capabilities, as like not a primary scorer as much as just the guy who sets everybody up. But now that is not going to be available for Houston. And the question is, how do they get around this? And if they don't, what does that mean in terms of their contention status? I've seen a good amount of people suggesting that the Rockets go and get Russell Westbrook. And while I absolutely think that that would be a fun and interesting thing for them to do, I like the idea of a Westbrook and Kevin Durant like reuniting type thing happening. Like that's cool. You know me, I always appreciate the story. Anything that's remotely storybook, I'm about it. But in terms of the actual conversation as to whether or not this team is a contender, I don't think adding Russell Westbrook is going to change that. I just don't think he's at that position in his career. The limitations with him are too severe. The fact that they want to play double bigs, like you're not playing double bigs with Russell Westbrook, that would be a spacing nightmare. So the real solution here, and a lot of people have been saying this, they kind of have to trade Fred VanVleet's contract along with some draft capital to try and go and get somebody else. I believe Rudy, he sent me a post from Fast Break Breakfast saying Fred VanVleet and 2 firsts for Derek White engage. I mean, yeah, that is a trade that could possibly make some sense. I don't know if I don't think the Celtics should trade Derek White, to be honest, but something in that nature is really the only way that I see the Rockets saving this at this point. That, or you are just believing that Reed Shepherd is ready for big time responsibility. That, or you believe that Amen Thompson can function as your lead ball handler. And I do think there is room for that capacity, for that capability, but I also don't feel very confident in it. Like, Amen is a very good playmaker. He's a very good ball handler. He's a freight train going to the rim on the fast break. But I do think that he has limitations in his playmaking in a half-court set just due to the fact that he is not a spacer. He is not someone that the defense is really going to pay super close attention to beyond the three-point line. Now, there is, of course, the thing with him of like, if you're giving him enough space, he gets ahead of steam. And then when he goes to the rim, like there's nothing you can do about that. And he can use that rim gravity to create opportunity for his teammates. Like, I can see a world where that does work out, but you're still a major rotation piece short, even if you do manage to get an answer to that point guard position. And I don't think Reed Shepherd is ready to take up a backup role that like would have theoretically made up for the loss of Fred. Like, I just don't, I'm trying to wrap my head around a way to salvage this, and I'm not too sure. Obviously, Şengün is a very good playmaker. That's a big facet of his game that is really compelling to people, is that like he was getting comparisons to Jokic because of his playmaking game. As much as he's very good at that, he's not in a Jokic caliber of like, oh yeah, this guy can be the best playmaker in your offense and it works. I don't think it'll really work for Houston if Alperen Şengün is out there doing a Jokic impression. I don't think that's the answer. There could also be a bit of a playmaker by committee thing because Kevin Durant's a pretty good playmaker. Like I said, Amen Thompson's a good playmaker. Şengün's a good playmaker. So you could work your way around to making that work that way, but all of it just feels like a stretch to me. Like I've been pondering this for a little bit. Like, what is the actual answer here? I don't think it's Russell Westbrook. I don't really think it's Amen at point just because of his inability to shoot the ball. Also, if you're running double bigs with him, that adds to that issue. I think playmaker by committee is probably the closest thing we'll get to something that just outright solves this problem, but I don't know that it's enough between Şengün, Durant, and Thompson. Might be. I'm not ruling out that possibility, and I'm not outright ruling out the Houston Rockets as contenders. I don't think that that is a guaranteed thing. I've seen a lot of people sounding alarm bells on Twitter and a lot of people being like, this definitively puts them out of the contender conversation. I feel like I would put them more towards a B-tier contender. I did a video over on the main Rusty Buckets channel going over teams that I thought were contenders or pretenders, and I had the Rockets as the third best team, the third best contender, and I said that there was 3 teams in, because I always sort it as A-tier contenders and then B-tier contenders. I said there's 3 teams in the A-tier, and the Houston Rockets were up there with the Thunder and the Nuggets. I think I'm going to have to bump them down more towards the bottom of the B-tier contender teams as a result. I did see a good amount of pushback on that video in particular, like people thinking I'm too high on the Houston Rockets. I don't think that I was. Fred VanVleet is a really tough loss. Like, if they lost Steven Adams, like, you just added Clint Capella, so you can still do the double bigs thing pretty effectively there. Like, if they lost Dorian Finney-Smith, it's like, okay, we can find another 3-and-D player. He was kind of the only guy on his team who could do what he does specifically, or Reed Shepherd, who did not play almost at all last year and didn't play in a playoff context at all. So I don't think it's going to work. I think this gets in the way of it working. They do have the ability to make a trade, though. So probably the true answer, you got to make a trade. You got to give up some draft capital. And I do think because it's Kevin Durant that you just traded for, and of course, Houston is in a tight window to win a championship while Durant is actually there, they should be even more willing to make a trade like that. Maybe it's for Drew Holiday from the Trailblazers. As I mentioned earlier, Derek White from the Celtics is intriguing, but I don't know. I don't know what the answer is at point. I just know that Fred VanVleet not being there sure as shit ain't an answer. So I don't know. We'll have to see, but I'm kind of sounding the alarm bells for Houston here. Houston, we have a problem, if you will.